Have a district account now.
have my. Oh, that's so.
Okay. All right, Sheila, can we have a roll call? All right, I'm good now.
Troy Carr,
Here.
Jamie Clapham. Here. Katie Urban. Here. Donna Moore. Here. Walt Swan is absent with notice. Angela Rafferty. Here. And Christine Stephenson. Here. Marissa Bonas. Here. Alina Braun. Here. And Warren is absent.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, approval of the proposed agenda. Before I take that motion, we will pull two policies. Item 11C, Charlie, and item 11D, Delta. These two policies will be pulled from the agenda tonight. They will be sent to the policy committee for to look at some more language, updated and brought back to the board at our next meeting. Our next policy committee is the 27th, Monday, the 27th. So these two policies will be reviewed at that meeting and brought back to the board. Excluding those items, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
A motion. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda excluding items 11, Charlie and Delta. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Okay, motion carries. At this time, we'll have the sharing the success.
Good evening, board. Hope you can hear me okay.
Oh, there he is. I was
Yeah.
looking over there, but you're here.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to bring forward our principals. So if our principals would step forward towards the podium, that would be great. Those in attendance tonight.
Hey, don't stand
behind.
All right, come this
Yeah.
way. Yeah, we got,
Yeah, front and center.
there we go. There we go.
So Dr. Thompson and board, I wanted to take a moment and recognize our principals. Each October, school districts across the nation take time to recognize and celebrate the essential role that principals play in the success of our schools. So we're proud to join this celebration and honor National Principals Month by recognizing the tremendous impact of our own school leaders. We know that our principals are the cornerstone of every school community. They set the tone for learning, they lead with strong leadership, and they create great learning environments. There are problem solvers, our instructional leaders, our mentors, our advocates, and they often do a lot of that work that we don't see behind the scenes. So at RCAS, our principals lead with purpose, collaboration, and a deep commitment to continuous improvement. They've focused on guiding the work of professional learning communities and collaborative teams. They use data to inform instruction, and they build shared ownership for results. So through leadership-driven professional learning, they actively engage in district-wide collaboration by studying best practices, implementing evidence-based strategies, and aligning their school improvement goals to our strategic plan. Principals model reflective practice through our feedback cycles and our rounding. They seek input from students, from staff, and from families so that they can strengthen the systems and culture within their schools. So we extend a heartfelt appreciation to each of our principals for their service, their professionalism, and their unwavering dedication to the students, staff, and families of Rapid City area schools. Their leadership is a catalyst for growth, innovation, and belonging. So together, we celebrate National Principals Month by saying thank you to all of our principals for their commitment to instructional excellence and continuous improvement in every school. So thank you all. And if there are any questions, you can direct it to any or all of them or myself.
Well, let's congratulate them. Okay, I know we're gonna have comments, so just bear with us a few seconds. First up, Mrs. Clapham.
Thank you. I want to say it really feels good to look at each and every one of you and know that you have welcomed me into your buildings. That if I see you in the grocery store, that you don't hide. And I say that because I believe so much in building relationships and that we all have to lead by example. And you all have always been, each of you, so respectful, so open to feedback and willing to reach out. And that, I can't tell you how much that means from sitting in this position. From, you know, I watched one of you get a shoe out of a tree this week before school started at 7:45 in the morning. And so you're not, you know, you're not sitting in your offices. You're not, I know how active and present you all are. And we are very fortunate as a district to have each and every one of you.
All right, Mrs. Urban.
Yes, I really appreciate the work you do. When I worked for the district, it was incredible to me how, when we'd have a different, like a change in principal at a school, how much of a difference you could see in the school, good or bad. I think it's just, the role you play cannot be underestimated. It's huge and it really can change the culture and, the performance of a school. So I appreciate what you do. You wear a lot of hats and I'm grateful.
All right, Mrs. Rafferty.
I want to thank each one of you for showing up every day and giving 100%. As a former educator, I know what you guys go through every day. You're expected to be a mom, you're expected to be a counselor, a leader, and an expert in data. But everything you do does, I mean, you can look back one day and just look at those kids that have gone through your buildings and look at where they've ended up. Good, a lot of them good. And it's all because of your leadership. The teachers need you. They need your leadership. They need you to be their cheerleader. And that's what you guys do every day. You show up for everybody. Thank you.
All right, we're having issues with our hand raising on Zoom, so anybody else want to make a comment? Okay, I do. I want, oh,
No, I was saying they spoke.
okay. Dr. Thompson.
I just wanted to say what a privilege it has been to get to know each of you and to see the passion that you have for your buildings and how hard you work to make sure your students and your staff are successful each day. It truly is an honor.
I just want to appreciate all the work that you do. And as I was thinking about it, it's like we're have common professions. It's like you all are pastors of your buildings. And one of the things that people can't appreciate about your job and pastoring in general is that you don't leave the job when you leave the building. You're thinking about teachers, you're thinking about students, you're thinking about administration, you're thinking about why the board make that decision. I mean, you carry that with you, and that can be tiresome and burdensome at times, but thank you for doing it. Thank you for doing such a good job at it. And we are fortunate to have you in Rapid City Area School. So again, thank you. Oh, you,
I have one more thing to say.
well, let's clap first. And then, all right, Mrs. Irvin.
Okay, Angela reminded me of something, talking about supporting the teachers, and I think that's huge. And now that I have, my daughter is a teacher over at South Park, and her supervisor, I guess, of her student teaching said, I've never seen a principal that is so supportive. Like, you're so lucky that you have that. And it just reminded me, you know, when we're talking about we need teachers and retention and all of those things, how crucial it is that that role, that you are supporting teachers and they feel like they are, you know, they're wanted and they have someone that they can go to. So thank you for that as well.
All right. Anybody else want to heap some well-deserved glory on our principals? All right. Thank you again so much for what you do. We appreciate it.
We do have one other sharing the success this evening, and that is for you, the members of our school board. It is my honor to congratulate the Rapid City Area School Board for earning the Associated School Boards of South Dakota All Award for the 24-25 school year. The ASB-SD School Board Recognition Program is designed to honor school boards across our state for their dedicated service, leadership, and commitment to the students of South Dakota. The recognition reflects your active participation in ASB-SD events, board development opportunities, and training, which demonstrates your ongoing dedication to growth and excellence in governance. Your time, effort, and steadfast commitment to the students, staff, and families of RCAS are deeply appreciated, not only by the ASB-SD, but also by your administrative team and your community. Thank you for your continued leadership and partnership. We look forward to building on our shared successes and continuing the important work of serving the RCAS community together. And I do have a plaque for you.
All righty. I was wondering where our plaque is. Yes. All right, and it says, let's see, can I?
Yes.
Says Silver Level Board, Rapid City Area Schools for the 24-25 school year. All right, board, give yourselves a hand. Good.
Next year we'll move back up to school.
Yeah, we kind of went down a little bit this year. Well, this is an important award, and I think it's important for the community to know that not only is this board active in Rapid City Area School District, it is also active around the state, communicating and associating with other boards, with other superintendents, and doing the statewide. So again, you should be proud of the activity of our board. So again, congratulate everyone for this award. All right, at this time, we have one open forum participant, and let me see, let me get your, because you have still Ms. Thompson. All right, Ms. Thompson, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Good evening, board. My name is Florence Thompson, also Florence Thompson Fuller. I keep forgetting that. This is brand new. I'm president of South Dakota Parents Involved in Education, and I'm also a retired school psychologist with over 40 years experience in the schools as a psychologist. I hate to rain on everybody's parade, or maybe I really enjoy it. Probably I do. The last meeting I was at, which was several weeks ago, because I was on my honeymoon. But anyway, there was the Associated School Boards was the topic at that time too. And again, it came up tonight. They're giving our board an award. You know, the lobbying by education associations to me is kind of troubling because I don't think the public and the parents understand what really goes on in Pierre. And the lobbying down there, the education groups are like an axis. The lobbyists all get together, they all vote together, they all support the same issues together. And for instance, in this last session, the topic of the issue of males in female spaces was very hot topic at that time. And all of these education associations, the Associated School Boards, the Administrators Association, the Teachers Association, the Counselors Association, the Social Workers Association, the big schools, the little schools, I don't think it was the little schools, they don't usually get in on this stuff. They don't have the money. But they all came in gung-ho in support for males being allowed in female bathrooms, dressing rooms, hotel, motel rooms, prisons. You know, this is not something that the general public supports. And I don't think a lot of our teachers and staff would really support that either. We've got to protect our girls. We've got to protect our women, not only from assault, but from embarrassment and discrimination. And so fortunately, the legislature did come up with a good ruling on that. They came up with a good law. They said, we will not allow males in female spaces in South Dakota. So I thank the Lord for that. The legislature is really more conservative than it has been in the past. And it seems to be continuing in that direction. I think that another thing that, an aspect that concerns me about the lobbying is that I see the lobbyists leading policy. Now, I know they come around to you and say, what do you want us to do? You know, we'll vote this way or we'll vote that way. But really, they are managing you and grooming you into a certain viewpoint which matches theirs. And this is not just statewide, this is national. And I'm sure you know there's a big cultural divide in our country. And these lobbyists are on the liberal side. And if you don't realize that, they are. And we are paying dues to these organizations with our public money. So thank you for the time.
All right. Any response to the open forum? Mrs. Stephenson.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson, for your comments. I just want to say, because I've worked with ASBSD and other lobbyists for the years that I've been on the board, they are not on the liberal side. They're on the side of public education. And I feel really confident that they are there because they want to make public schools in South Dakota as good as they can possibly be. And that's why I'm here. And we maybe don't agree with everything that we maybe don't share the same stance, because I'm here because I want Rapid City area schools to be the best it can possibly be. But I disagree with your perspective that they are a liberal organization. I just haven't really come across anything that makes me feel like this is an organization for a liberal agenda. It's an organization for a public school agenda.
Mrs. Clapham.
I just wanted to briefly say, I think, in general, as a society, I think we need to be very cautious about making blanket broad statements about policies that aren't fully accurate as far as males and female spaces, and making that a very bold blanket statement. I think alls and always and nevers, that those are dangerous. I also would say, I agree, you know, as far as the term grooming, one of the things I think that is great about a 7-person board is that we all are very independent thinkers. We all have pretty strong personalities, and we all, I think, are very, hold our personal beliefs and supporting and representing our constituents. We hold that to a very high standard. And so I think that the term of being group, I guess I can say I feel strongly speaking about this board that as far as grooming, we are not, as Ms. Stephenson said, we are here to advance public education for every child in this district. And that is all of our goals. And there is no political agenda behind that. There is no, you know, smoke and mirrors. We are here to do the best to educate kids. And whatever needs to be done in advocacy to do that, we will wholeheartedly do that. And we put our strongest effort behind that every single day.
Right, anybody else? It is very important for this board to be active in the political process, especially being informed and having influence on those that make decisions of our laws. Last week, we met with 4 representatives from the Rapid City area schools, from this district, our district area. And our conversation with them is advocating for Rapid City area schools. We don't agree and have the same, every school district has their own different and specific needs. And so our conversation with them are promoting legislation that supports Rapid City area schools and public schools. We also have hired a lobbying firm to lobby for us in Pierre, and their responsibility is to lobby for the things that we want. They don't tell us what to lobby for. We tell them the things that are interest to us, and they lobby for those things. We don't disagree. Sometimes we disagree with the state school board stance. Sometimes we disagree with Sioux Falls, whatever other school district. So it's not just a one hodgepodge cabal or whatever it is. But this board is responsible for the Rapid City area schools. What other districts advocate for, what the nation advocates for is really not our responsibility. We do what's best for Rapid City area schools. So, all right, seeing no other questions or comments, student reports. Mrs. Braun from Stevens, you're up first.
Okay, good evening, board. Stevens has been very busy since I last updated
Ms.
you.
Braun, you can just pull the mic closer to you. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Tonight we have our Red Ribbon Week Family Night. During parent-teacher conferences tonight at Stevens, Student Council is hosting a family night for our Raider family. They can visit club booths in the link, listen to a drug uses presentation from the Lifeways and Sheriff's Office, and they can get a dirty soda at the Jukebox Soda Shop in the parking lot. Our activities at Stevens have also been busy. Our girls volleyball team is headed to Sioux Falls this weekend. They are working to finish out the season and have high hopes of going to the playoffs starting in November. Our cross-country teams are preparing to go to state this weekend in Huron, South Dakota. Both boys and girls are slated to finish within the top of the state. Several members of our Stevens soccer teams made all-state team. Ava Holsworth, Avery Dorman, Lily Schad, and Trent Poliski were all chosen for the first team. Thursday night, one of the biggest games of the year is taking place, the annual Stevens versus Central football game. Our Stevens Raiders are visiting at O'Hara Stadium, and they are taking on the Central Cobblers. In this game, you will see not only football, but both marching bands, the pom-pom relay, and the highly anticipated tuba relay. Our Stevens band is looking forward to taking back the title of tuba relay champions. Lastly, the Stevens girls tennis team won the state title for the second year in a row and the fourth time in 5 years. We won 5 of 9 flights on our way to the title. Our students at Stevens were busy with the end of midterm one this past couple weeks. We have things to look forward to, including the trunk or treat and the fall play. Our school's chapter of Future Business Leaders of America is hosting the annual trunk or treat in the Stevens parking lot on Thursday, October 30th from 4 to 6 p.m. We are looking forward to seeing all the creative cars, and a gift card to downtown Rapid City awaits the winner. The drama department at Stevens is starting their year off strong by putting on The Servant of Two Masters, a comedy about a servant who takes on 2 masters to attempt to get more food and money. The undertaking of such a large project so early on in the year is impressive, and our drama department always does a wonderful job. Stevens took on an Aspire campaign this year. It stands for accountability, self-control, perseverance, integrity, respect, and empathy. Both the students and teachers at Stevens have done their best to embody Aspire. The staff at Stevens have a unique opportunity. They have adopted responsibility-centered discipline at Stevens, and on October 28th, Joseph Cope will be assisting new and returning teachers at Stevens to learn how to implement this protocol. The staff spotlight for this week is Jesus Garcia. Mr. Garcia teaches Spanish 1 and 2 at Stevens. He has taught at Stevens for 4 years and inspires our freshmen and sophomores to learn Spanish. His approach to teaching Spanish is to teach both what the kids need to know and also teach them fun phrases and slang so they can sound more native. Mr. Garcia is a teacher because he wants to give back to the country that gave him so much. And in his free time, Mr. Garcia likes to do projects at his house and bother his 3 sons. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Very good report. Board members, any questions for Ms. Braun?
I have just one.
Okay.
Did you say Thursday is the Central Stevens game?
Thursday, 6
At
p.m.
6 p.m. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Clapham?
Yes.
Am I correct that one of those, All-State players is in the room right now? I
Yes.
just wanted to recognize you. So, well done, sir.
Right, Ms. Stephenson?
Yeah, I just wanted to let the rest of the board know, because I'm not sure if you got this information or if just parents of high schoolers did. There's gonna be a presentation for parents on responsibility-centered discipline. It's at, I think the Rep City Alternative Academy, but I'm realizing that I really didn't do a complete entry in my personal calendar. But 5 to 6:30 on Monday, October 27th. For me, I don't quite know what responsibility centered discipline means, so I'm thankful to have the opportunity, and I thought you all might as well.
All right, anyone else? Mrs. Urban and I just figured out how to raise our hands, so thank you, Ms. Clark. All right, anything else for Ms. Braun? All right, thank you so very much. A wonderful report. All right, Central, Mrs. Bonnes.
Okay. Good evening, board. Tonight, Central is also hosting its fall parent-teacher conferences. The CHS Counseling Department will be offering live presentations as well, covering dual enrollment, graduation requirements, and scholarship information, along with free additional resources for students and families to take home with them. This marks the midpoint of the first semester, and I think it's worth noting that this is the first year that Central has adopted a semester system for all classes. I can definitely say that as a student, I really appreciate this change, as it allows for smoother transitions around breaks and a clearer opportunity to evaluate course loads. Upcoming for juniors and seniors, a post-high fair will be offered tomorrow, October 22nd at the Monument. This is once again a valuable opportunity for students to gather informational resources and begin planning for their futures. Earlier this month, on October 10th, Central's chapter of the National Honor Society hosted its fall blood drive. The event was open to the community, which was a great success, with 48 units of blood collected and 18 brand new donors registered. On a lighthearted note, our mascot, Carl the Cobbler, has now advanced into the top 4 for the America's Best High School Mascot Tournament, which is both fun news and exciting, because it brings positive national attention and pride to the school. And voting is still open if you're interested. As for academics, over the past few weeks, the AP government classes hosted guest speakers such as the South Dakota Secretary of State and former vice chairman of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe. Both visits were highly impactful and appreciated by the students, so I'd like to thank the AP government teacher, Mr. Mays, for helping to coordinate them. Also in the realm of government, Central was recently honored with the Gladys Pyle Award for Excellence in Youth Voter Registration. Regarding activities at Central, our cheer and dance teams placed first across the board at our home meet last week, continuing their very successful season. Clubs such as Model UN and Speech and Debate are also now in full swing. As a member of the debate team myself, I am proud to report that we're heading into what looks like a very promising season for the school this year. The football team will play against Stevens this Thursday, and both boys and girls cross-country teams will compete at the state meet in Huron this Saturday, October 25th. And that concludes my report. Once a cobbler, always a cobbler. Thank you.
That's right. All right. Thank you. Mrs. Urban.
Maybe I didn't hear it all. So you talked about the semester system for the first time. What was it before?
Yes, so before it was kind of a mix. Some classes might have been broken up into a semester basis, and then others were a year-long class.
So like a math class is now like geometry 1 and 2 or something like that?
Yes, so the student will have the opportunity to drop or add a new class, whereas before with year-long class, they might not have had that ability.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's new at both high schools, right?
Yeah.
That's the policy
I
both.
so.
Also, since I'm a cobbler also, how can we vote for the mascot?
Yes, so what I did to vote is you just look up America's Top Mascot Tournament, and the first website that pulls up should be
It's on their Facebook. All right.
I believe it says Top 64 is like the link to the website, so.
Okay. All right. I got to go vote. So,
Thank you.
all right. Any other board member? All right, Ms. Bonnes, very good report. All right. At this time, Dr. Thompson with our superintendent report.
Thank you. My report will be very brief this evening. I keep losing my voice, so. The calendar committee began its work by reviewing 4 draft calendars. Through several rounds of revision, the committee refined those options and has now narrowed them down to 2. These two calendars will be shared with staff tomorrow. Staff will be invited to provide feedback to their committee representative, specifically indicating their preferred calendar and the reasons for their choice. The committee's ultimate goal is to present a final calendar recommendation to the board. When doing so, we will also walk the board through the process used to reach those recommendations. Committee discussions included robust debate regarding when the school year should begin, the timing and length of breaks, and the appropriate end date. These conversations were balanced with statutory requirements, as well as contractual obligations that limited some options. By gathering broad input and carefully considering both preferences and requirements, the committee aims to recommend a calendar that best serves the needs of our students, staff, families, and our community, while ensuring compliance with all regulations. That brings me to our cell phone committee. Our first meeting for cell phone committee is scheduled for tomorrow evening. The committee will begin its work by reviewing current research on cell phone usage in schools. Members have already received access to these articles, which will allow us to engage in informed and thoughtful discussions from the very beginning. I have also received positive feedback from staff, students, and parents regarding the cell phone restrictions implemented at our high schools this year. These firsthand experiences will provide us with some valuable context as the committee considers potential next steps. The purpose of the committee is to evaluate the role of cell phones in our schools and to consider potential policy adjustments that balance instructional focus, student well-being, and family communication needs. Our goal is to engage in a collaborative, research-based process that leads to clear recommendations for the board. As part of that process, we will also survey students, staff, and parents to gather their perspectives on cell phone usage in schools. The data collected will be incorporated into the committee's discussions and help shape the final recommendation that we ultimately bring forward to the board. And I was going to end on a final note talking about the Rapid City Central and Stevens football teams playing on Thursday night, but somebody beat me to that good news.
All right, thank you very much. Any comments or questions for Dr. Thompson, her report? Mrs. Stephenson.
Thank you. I just wanted to add to a little bit about the calendar committee process. I was able to make one of those meetings, the second one, and I wanted to commend you, Dr. Thompson, for that process. I felt like I want to assure the board it was very collaborative, and I wasn't at the first meeting, but the second meeting, people were there to get a job done, and you were very responsive to ideas and like able to say, oh yeah, that makes sense, and kind of get a feel for how the room. And I feel like the committee is going to leave with a couple calendars that they feel good about. I wanted to share my personal experience because you guys might not know this. I was like, we have to start school later. Like that was my highest priority about calendars. Like we can't be going in the middle of August, it's too hot. And through this process, I think a lot of people on the committee learned what I learned, which is if we start too late, then we can't end the semester at high school. And I was sitting next to Terry Lundeen, and I know from conversations with others that ending the semester at December is incredibly important for these students to, one, they can get their transcripts from the fall semester earlier so they can apply for scholarships. Currently, they're missing deadlines to apply because our transcripts aren't released until early February sometimes. They don't have enough class time before the AP tests, and I'm sure you're going to get all this information, but I just wanted to share just how the calendar committee might have two recommendations, one of which ends at December and one of which ends in January, the first semester. And this was weighed heavily. And I personally came down on the side of we should probably prioritize ending the first semester in December. So that's my comment on that. The question I had for you is, when is the goal for the cell phone policy or the cell phone committee to come up with recommendations for a policy?
I would hope very early in second semester at the latest. We want to make sure you have time to develop a policy that can be well thought out and put in place for the next school year.
So the committee isn't coming up with a policy.
Do the policy, something together, and then you need plenty of time to put that in place.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other comments? I did want to, again, appreciate Dr. Thompson for the calendar process. And just to, as sensitively as I can say, we can only have obviously one calendar. And so there's going to be people that want the other calendar. And so I think board members, we also need to be sensitive because we may hear from people who don't like the calendar that has been picked. And that's, I mean, no matter what calendar you're going to pick, you're going to have people call you and notify you and say, why didn't they pick the other calendar? I mean, they're just going to say stuff. So I just kind of want to just soften it that we're going to eventually pick one calendar and somebody's not going to like it. But thank you for the work, the groundwork that you're doing to be as inclusive as possible so that we can get get as many people in favor of whatever is chosen as possible. All right, Mrs. Clapham.
Ms. Braun speak first.
Okay, Ms. Braun.
Okay, I just wanted to give a student perspective on the semester transcripts.
Please do.
Ending the semester before Christmas is incredibly beneficial to students. Having to take 2 weeks off directly before semester exams is very difficult. And then from a senior perspective, trying to apply for scholarships and then sending in mid-year transcripts to colleges is incredibly important. And I know students last year were missing deadlines because transcripts weren't released until January or February. So this new process of having semester finals and the semester done before Christmas is incredibly beneficial for all students, I believe.
Thank you. Wonderful. Appreciate that input. Mrs. Clapham.
I'm going to be very brief because we know this calendar's going to come back, but I think it's just really important for us as a board. And I think I have kind of reset myself. Our job is to do what's best for kids. So yes, we have people who will have an issue with certain things, but I think like what we were hearing, and again, we have not seen the calendar that will come, but I think our job above all else is what is educationally sound and best for kids. And so when people take issue or don't like because of the fair or this and that, like my response is always like my job sitting in this chair is do the most educationally sound best things for kids. And I have a major appreciation for how much focus on that has gone into the calendars. And I think honestly, in the past 4 or 5 years, this much hasn't been invested and dissected and broken down. And I think it's really good that we're doing it.
Okay. Anybody, any other questions, comments for Dr. Thompson and her report? All right. Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Appreciate that. At this time, Mr. Sassy with the Chief Financial Officer, Business Manager. You have the other title is too long. So
Just say CFO.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, call me whatever. It's Thank you, President Carr. Appreciate it, sir. Tonight, board wanted to take just a few minutes, this is going to be brief, to run through a fiscal year 2026 Q1 fiscal update. So a couple of things to think about as we review this information. First of all, if everything worked out perfectly, just like we'd want it to, the markers that we would be looking for at this point in the year would be 25%. So we're a quarter into the year. We want to see our trends and our progressions in terms of our budget utilization hitting right around that figure to be on track. The second thing is what we're looking for this early in the year is putting much more emphasis around our expenditure trends rather than our revenue trends. As you're going to see, our revenue situation in the district is always interesting because our revenue funding is so sporadic. And so we put a lot more emphasis at this point in the year on what are our expenditure trends looking like as opposed to our revenue trends, which generally catch up over time. So we'll look at the major funds, starting with a look at, if I can figure out my slides. There we go. The overall budget. So on the expenditure side, we budgeted 196 million. We've spent about 49.1. So we are at 24.97. That may be the only time that we will ever be that close to nailing a budget utilization. So almost exactly 25% through the year, through the budget at this point in the year. So that's right where we want to be. Again, on the revenue side, it always looks pretty ugly throughout the first half of the year and then starts to catch up over the second half. So again, budgeted 196 million in revenue. We've collected about 16 million to this point, or about 8%. So I don't know that we can really make a judgment on that one way or another. Again, the first quarter, we don't have any of the large property tax deposits, which obviously really holds back the revenue side. So we're about where we would expect to be. Again, that's a common theme, just due to the erratic revenue patterns and the more stable expenditure patterns, especially in those major operating accounts like general fund sped, where we're paying a lot of salaries and benefits. You can map those out over time. And so this is a very common trend. Looking more specifically at the general fund, on the expenditure side, we budgeted 23.9 million. We have spent 23.9 million, or about 24.88% through the budget at this point in the year. So again, right on track in terms of general fund expenditures. A couple of the larger expenditure categories, salaries, we've spent 14.2 million for about 22% progression. Benefits 4.6 million for about 26.5. So we're slightly ahead on benefits, but nothing concerning. The other category that again, what we're looking for at this point in the year is any areas that are significantly overspent, significantly underspent in terms of progression. When we look at our other category, which is primarily our liability, property, and work comp premiums, we've spent about 2.4 million, which is about 73% of the budget. So like, that's a great example of a line item in which those are paid up at the front point of the year. They're generally paid, premiums are paid in July. So the advancement of that account looks like it's out of whack when it really isn't. It's, again, right on course. So expenditure side on the general fund looks great. On the revenue side, we've collected $10.5 million, or about 11.2% of total revenue. Again, that's about where we would expect to be at this point in the year. Local revenue source is the one that's really dragging at this point. We've collected 1.25 million in local revenue or property tax, or about 2.3%. Again, the large deposits are happening in November and April, so we have not had either of those large deposits. On the state side, we've collected about 9.1 million, or about 24%. So we're really in line right now in terms of our state aid. Again, just a reminder that enrollment count goes into the state. Right now, they're paying us on the estimate. Once the enrollment count is finalized, they'll make any adjustments necessary and then pay accordingly throughout the remainder of the year after November. So obviously, we're tuned into what ultimately happens with enrollment. We're hoping that number that we submitted for the state aid estimate is going to come really close, and hopefully it should, but we'll see what happens. So I just made a highlight there that total revenue collected is approximately 44% of total expenditures. This really only becomes a concern in terms of cash management, as you'll see towards the end of my slides. That's something in the first half of the year that we have to pay a lot of attention to, because in most of our funds, we're using a lot of cash and we're not receiving the same amount of revenue back in. And so we do have to watch that. District has been in a good cash position for several years, so it hasn't become a major concern, but it is something we keep an eye on through the first half of the year. On the capital outlay side, again, capital outlay is a bit of a different fund. It's not so much an operational fund like the general fund, like SPED, more of a project-based fund. So you'll see expenditures all over the place, and there's categories that look like they're getting close to 100%. There's categories way under, and a lot of it is just based around how projects are progressing, large purchases up to that point, large pieces of equipment that were scheduled in the capital outlay budget. all those types of things. So, you know, there really isn't a lot of rhyme or reason to what capital outlay looks like throughout the year as a progression. You could compare this to last year and it could look totally different. And so we just have to take it for what it is at this point in time. On the expenditure side, we spent 11.2 million, or about 34% of the overall budget. Construction services, which is one of the larger categories, we have about $9 million scheduled in construction services. We've spent about 2.3, or about 14%. So again, there's not a lot we can draw from the progression of capital outlay up to this point. On the expenditure side, on the revenue side, we've collected 334,000, or about 1% of the revenue budget. That is, again, almost 100% local funding. So capital outlay is really property tax based. So whatever we're collecting in capital outlay, that's really what the capital outlay revenue picture is going to look like. So nothing to be concerned about there. Again, the large deposits haven't hit, and I don't think there's anything in capital outlay concerning at this point. Lastly, special education fund. On the expenditure side, I should mention the special education fund looks much more like the general fund in terms of how it progresses throughout the year. More of an operational based fund, about 85 to 90% of it is wrapped up in compensation and benefits. So again, it's going to go back to that more normal looking trend throughout the year. Expenditures, up to this point, we've spent 4.7 million, or about 17%. So again, we're still under where we want to be for the year. And as you recall from some of our previous budget conversations, that's a bigger picture trend that we're trying to turn the corner on. Has a lot to do with obviously hiring, filling positions, and ensuring that that money is spent down. I will say, compared to the last 3 years, we are further ahead in the expenditure progression that we've been over the last 3 years. We've been falling in that 13 to 15% range. So we are spending more money, but we're not spending enough at this point, still behind the trend. Salaries, that can't be right. We've spent, I'm going to say that's definitely not 14.2 million. That must be what we have budgeted. Anyway, we spent 22%, and I know that because I was surprised about that number, that we were that close to being that spent in salaries. On the benefit side, again, that's not correct. I know we have spent 26.5%. I'll correct those numbers and send this back out to the board. I think, you know what I think it did? I think it brought my general fund numbers forward on the expenditure side. I'll correct this, board, and I'll get a new copy out to you. On the revenue side, that is correct. So at this point, we've collected $940,000 in revenue for the SPED fund, or about 4.5%. On the local side, again, 226,000, 2.3%. And then on the state side, we've had 713,000 in special education state aid. Now that's interesting because if you recall, we budgeted zero. Given our cash balance and given some of those trends that we saw, we budgeted zero. However, as the state finalizes all that information and determines what if anything, the state award is going to look like, we ended up that we pulled our cash balance down enough that we are going to receive some state aid. Now, again, just like the general fund, that could change headed into the second half of the year. But at this point, we are receiving about $200,000 and some in state aid for the special education fund. So again, that looks very similar to the general fund in terms of trends. So everything looks good on the special education side. And here's the cash positions for those major funds throughout the first quarter of the year. Again, you can see really the concern here. I shouldn't say concern. I think the thing we need to watch here becomes how those cash positions are dwindling down. So for example, you can see we started the fiscal year with about $19 million in the general fund. Throughout that first quarter, we've used about $10 million in cash. And obviously that's with the revenue coming in as well. So this is again, a typical trend. We see our cash levels come down, bounce back up, come down, bounce back up. So there's really two spikes throughout the year around those large tax deposits. Again, nothing to be concerned about here. We're still in a good cash position. Capital outlay side started the year at 61.5 million. We've used about 6 million up to this point. Special education side started at 10.6 and haven't used as much cash on the special education side, down to about 8.1. So cash positions are in good shape. Overall, having a really great start to the fiscal year. Everything is right in line and right where we want it to be. So tried to make that as short as possible, President Carr, and happy to take any questions that the board may have.
All right, board, any questions for Mr. Sassy? I don't see any hands on I'm still sharing.
Very good.
Anybody?
Our enrollment estimate compared to count day, how did that compare?
So we submitted 12,050 as our estimate. Count, let me pop out of here so I say this correctly. What we have to remember is that the count that we have internally is bodies and seats. So meaning, every student enrolled in the district at that point in time, we count as a one, essentially. What happens is when that number and that data is submitted to the state, it goes through what I like to refer to as like a scrubbing process, where they then look at what is the actual ADM of the student. Meaning that, for example, if a student is a senior and they're a 0.75, that they're not counting as a one for the state's purposes, they're counting as a 0.75 or a 0.5 or a 0.25 or whatever that might look like. And so there's generally an adjustment that happens on the state side, and generally that adjustment is downward because we're counting them as a full for our purposes, and the state does not count them as that. It was 12,100. Something. Why can't I find my enrollment?
12,100 something, so 50 over. You're anticipating it'll be about the same then?
I would assume right in that area, yeah. I think it was, yeah.
I think it was 12,098.
$12,061.
Oh.
12,061. So from a bodies and seats, we were close. Again, given some of the moves that have been made over the last couple of years in terms of credit requirements, I don't think we're going to see as big of an adjustment as we typically have. I would bet somewhere between a 20 and 30 ADM adjustment. So I would we'll land in the 12,040 range, somewhere in that area. So I don't think it's going to be as significant of an adjustment of as what we've seen over the last several years when we got to count dates. So that's a good thing. The slimmer that margin, the less adjustment that we'll see in the second half of the year.
Yeah, so we're sad enrollment's gone down, but happy that our estimate is accurate compared to what it is. And congratulations on that 25%. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
some good budgeting.
Well, we'll see. Let's see how the rest of the year. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Sassy? Okay, before we move on, I'd like to go backwards. Dr. Thompson, do you have any statements or comments about how the government shutdown has affected us?
I do not have anything prepared, but on the budget side, I mean, the funding has been allocated. So we feel confident that it will come through. It's just a matter of there are some pauses you know, so we have to be patient and may have to use some of that cash that Mr. Sassy talked about. Internally, one thing we have noticed is that there is a very, very large delay on our federal background checks. So that has impacted our hiring and really slowed that down. And we don't anticipate that getting better until the government is back at full speed and has had a few weeks to catch up. So we are making some adjustments internally to accommodate that.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that and bring that up because it is, you know, sometimes people think that those things are just happening in Washington, but they have real day-to-day effects even on our district. So thank you for that.
Can I follow up on that?
Yeah.
The other impact is on our families of you know, kids whose parents have been furloughed who aren't receiving their paychecks. I've heard through the grapevine, but I haven't heard through the school district that those families are eligible to apply for free and reduced lunch.
Yes, I did talk about that last month. At any time.
you did?
they can
Okay.
apply. If there's a change in their family situation and their income, they can apply for free and reduced lunch.
And has that gone out to families and I missed it? Okay, that's good. Are people taking advantage of it?
The progression of those free and reduced applications and tracking that over time is difficult. And I know there are some parameters in terms of, like, for example, loss of income, loss of a job, and some of the information that you have to prove that. But I do think that I could say anecdotally, we've seen a tick upward in free and reduced applications. And I think a lot of that just has to do with the amount of information that the district has pushed forward sort of on all fronts. And certainly, this is always a great reminder to families that if you have any questions, if you have any indication that you think that you and your family may qualify, please come in, ask questions, call, fill out the application. It's always better to err on the side of caution and fill that out than to just not try. So always a great time to mention that.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions? This time we have no conflicts of interest. I will entertain a motion for Rapid City Area Policies, Procedures, and Exhibits, the first reading of Alpha, Bravo, and Echo.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Rapid City Area Schools Policy, Procedures, and Exhibits, first reading of Alpha, Bravo, and Echo. Any discussion? All right, seeing no discussion, all in favor of approving signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion for approval of proposed agreements.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed agreements. Any discussion about any of the agreements? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Clapham.
So not necessarily really discussion. I just wanted to bring up, we have the agreement with Mrs. Gorman. And I think this district has really worked hard to really grow our own. And so I'm just really pleased and appreciative that even though Ms. Gorman has retired, that she is willing to help us. And I think that says a lot about what the staff and administration in this district feel about Ms. Gorman and her abilities and her capabilities. And so I think just a great testament to great leadership. We are growing in this district and that we even have people willing to come back and help us when we need it. So shout out to her and just appreciation for recognizing that talent.
Any discussion on any of the other agreements? All right, seeing none, all in favor of approving the proposed agreements signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion carries. Item 13, is there any item under item 13 that a board member would like to pull for discussion or pull from this consent agenda? All right, I hear none or see none. I will entertain a motion to approve the proposed consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed consent agreement. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Motion carries. All right, items for board information, committee reports. Mrs. Urban.
Thank you. Just trying to
I
get it
can't
open.
believe that. So stressful.
It is.
Raise your hand.
Okay, so I'm on the MAC, which is the military, I cannot think of the acronym right now, but basically, yes. Thank you, yes, yes. They just, sent out a new, and I kind of talked about it before, but they put out a guide for new families, and it includes things like jobs and things to do, and also a section about education. And so we have that in there. It also has details about the Military Children's Interstate Compact, which if you're military, you probably know what MIC-3 is. But it's what helps students who are transferring from base to base transition. And so we also, well, Ellsworth has a school liaison program manager. Her name's Joanne Mulholland, and she's always helpful and willing to help families that need it as they transition to Ellsworth or out. And then we had the Rapid City Public School Foundation meeting last night. The foundation approved a couple of grants, but I can't mention what they are because it's a surprise. But next time I'll be able to talk more about those. The board set a budget for grant allocations, which they haven't done before. But in the past, the board hasn't always given as much money away as they'd like to. And so they are looking at some different ways to do that, including a grant for brand new teachers to maybe buy things for their rooms, and a refresh grant for teachers that have been around a little longer that maybe need new items for their rooms. So more discussion on that. And then facilities, we had a very short meeting last week. It's no secret that we've talked a lot about a bond issue. And so we've been looking at what would the language be for that bond? What would it cost taxpayers? So we're having more discussion on that as we kind of work towards finalizing those plans. We've also had a lot of discussion on when to hold the bond. And initially we were thinking June. However, as we've had more discussion with people in community, there seems to be more support for November for a variety of reasons. And so I think we're leaning more towards that, but we will be voting on a resolution in the coming weeks. And I think that's all I have for now.
All right, thank you. Anyone else with a committee report? Okay, I have two, as I said before, in open forum, Dr. Thompson and I, and Mrs. Angela and I can't see, Mrs. Moore, all attended the legislative luncheon where we met with 4 legislators and Christine, leaving everybody out. And thanks to Mrs. Stephenson, who remembered all that were there, we met with Nicole Balk, Amber House, okay, Kurt Massey, and Kurt Voigt. And I thought it was a very productive lunch. We were again able to voice the concerns of Rapid City area schools. And those of you that also attended can also comment if I say this wrong. They all 4 seemed supportive to our comments, and seems like they were going to fight for not only just public education, but for the needs of Rapid City area schools. We have another one that first meeting focused on just hearing from them and them hearing from us. This next October 29th will be our next legislative luncheon, and Mr. Sassy at that time will be a more of a report style of luncheon. And so we'll give them some information on what did you, the formula and just some finance?
Yeah, I think,
Conversations.
yeah, in my opinion, it's always great when we get those folks that are making decisions and can influence what's happening with state aid and state aid funding to talk deeply about the formula. So that's probably the major focus.
Okay, all right, thank you. Also, I was at the PAC meeting. They had presentations by different individuals in that committee, that organization, and they are doing a lot of good work. They've got new people and new positions, but the report was positive. Again, it's just amazing to hear how intervention, there are many testimonies of how their intervention has caused a student who before the program and the extent of the program probably would have dropped out, but they have many more are graduating. And again, that's attributed when we see the increase in graduation rates, especially among our Native American students, it can be directly attributed to this PAC committee and to the individuals that on a day-to-day basis work with the students and encourage the students to hang in there. And again, it's amazing. Sometimes that's all a student needs, is just knowing that somebody cares enough about where they are and to give them that self-motivation. So it was wonderful hearing all the reports and all the things that were going on. All right, my last thing, again, I will just put it out there that there are two people on the policy committee. I was about to say Dr. Clapham, and maybe that will. Okay. Mrs. Clapham and I are currently on committee. And again, we would welcome any other board member to join us to have another voice. For clarity, Mrs. Urban has volunteered to be on that committee. And I have resisted in accepting that because she's doing so much on so many other committees and even doing work for the board that's not even on the committee. So if one of the other four board members have the time, you know, it's not our full-time job. Many of us have other jobs and may not have the time. But if possible, we'd like to add one more board member to that policy committee. Okay. Any other committee reports? All right, seeing none, we will move on to board objectives. Just refreshing the community, the board has 3 employees that we do evaluations on, and that's our superintendent, that's our business manager, and that's our inside counsel. According to my knowledge, this is the first time that the board has a desire to do a self-board evaluation. And I commend the board for that. I think that's important. It's a lot of work, it's time consuming, but this board feels that it's important for us to take on that role. Okay, I'm going to, Bobby taught me how to share my screen, so I'm going to attempt doing it without, uh-oh.
So now you wanna
It doesn't show.
Yep. And now when you go back to that, it should show.
There it is. All right, next time I'll do it on my own. Yes. All right, those of you that are watching and those of you that are here will be able to see the 4 objectives that the board has chosen to focus on for this year. And board members, we just have some minor formatting, the formatting of the other individuals that we are evaluating has an action plan, indicators of success, and strategic outcomes. Don't worry, we will not go over that tonight, but I would ask that if you all have any wordings or any anything that you think should go in each of these objectives, I will appreciate that, and then we can again present this update. We'll ask those of you that are watching us that this is the first time we've done this, and so it is going to be our first time, a slower process than if we had been doing this for years. But what we will do tonight is share with the community the 4 objectives that we will be working on. Okay. The first is the board will regularly monitor progress on district goals, effective instruction, and student achievement with data-based information. The board felt that while we are doing that, that we can do it more efficiently and do it better. And I think the key to this goal is using data-based information. And the board gets presentation 4 times a year by the strategic, what are they called? Pillar champions. And we do get statistical data from those pillar champions so that we can monitor progress. But this is a goal that we will more intently focus on that data and adjust objectives and opinions. The second objective that we have is the board will clearly understand its governance role and responsibilities, adhere to open meeting laws, and delegate district operation responsibilities to the superintendent. Again, the board is always doing a balancing act between giving direction to our superintendent and not overstepping our responsibility and micromanaging. And I don't know how well we do that, but we are focusing on that and making sure that we are at the correct balance. And again, that objective needs an action plan, indicators of success, and strategic outcome. The third objective, the board will conduct a self-evaluation to monitor its own performance and participate in personal development, including board training and seminars. That's an important goal because this goal, these objectives are what the board itself are going to do, not what the board is going to instruct the superintendent or administration to do, but what are in our jobs as board members, how are we going to do our job and do our job better? The last objective that we have agreed to work on is the board will establish effective communication with parents, students, staff, and community members while respecting the chain of command and lines of responsibility. Ever since I've been on this board, it's been important to the board to make sure that we communicate with the community, to be as transparent as we can, to be as factual as we can. And so this objective represents our continued effort to be to communicate as best we can. And it's so disheartening when we hear that, well, people say, I didn't know that, and you're not communicating, and you're not transparent. It's not because of our lack of trying. And again, this objective will cause you to see that we find it so important that we want to make sure a goal that as good as we think that we're doing, we want to do better and be better in communicating. All right, board members, those are our 4 objectives. Any questions or comments that you want to bring forward on those on these objectives? Okay, I'm sharing my screen so I don't see hands. Let's see, any hand? Okay, all right, so board so obviously we'll work on these goals. And again, for each goal, the format is having an action plan, meaning how are we going to accomplish this goal? What are our indicators of success? And what do we see as strategic outcomes? We can choose to do it or choose not to do it based on your desire and your preference. So, but at least we have, if we don't have the action plan, indicators, and success, then community, how this works is at the end of the year, we will then evaluate ourselves on how we think we did in all 4 of these objectives. Okay, any questions, comments? All right. That's that. I don't know, what time is it? 8:30. Did anyone separate from our board, thank you, separate from our board objectives? Last year, the board had 5, I gotta use another word, 3, maybe 3 areas of focus. That's what I'll call them. We call them objectives, but there are 3 areas of focus. And what that is, separate from this self-board or evaluation, are 3 things that we hope to see happen district-wide in this upcoming year. And so, does anybody have any of those for this meeting? Oh, before you say that, Dr. Thompson, can we have our board objectives on the board page of our website so that people can know what we're going to be working on throughout the year? Thank you so very much. All right, I'm sorry, Ms. Stephenson.
No, I want to throw out a couple things because I think it's valuable for us. I thought it was a valuable practice last year, the year before, to have, teacher retention, improved communication, and facilities. And I feel like we did actually keep coming back to those. They're ongoing. They're never going to go away. The reason I think I kind of have pushed for this, and I think it's important for the board to do this, is because I feel like when we set these priorities for the district, it does trickle down, even if it's not a part of the strategic plan, because we weren't actively involved in the creation of the strategic plan. That was a bunch of people. But for me, when I think about this district, I think about student enrollment. And I know that is so multifactorial, and there are a lot of different causes, and a lot of it is out of our control. But I think if we said for ourselves that we want to get the message out there that this is the best education possible in Rapid City, and at every level of this district, we are all working towards the same goal. I think it would not be a bad goal for us to say we want enrollment to go up next year, and every decision we make, we're gonna be thinking about how it can help enrollment. There's another thing that's important to me, and I know it's important to a lot of you, is the performance of our Indigenous students. We get reports that are kind of shocking and heartbreaking about how our Native students do compared to students living in poverty, compared to every other group. And we talk about it a lot, and I wonder and we know that in the strategic plan, that is not an outcome that is being looked at, but I think I would propose or be open to any discussion about what is a piece of data that we could request updates on in that realm, to go with that strategic or that goal of ours to have more regular data that matters to us. I would like more regular data about, or maybe to set a goal about improving outcomes for Native students, whether that's the high school completion / graduation rate, whether that's, that's probably the one that I feel the most strongly about because it impacts our community so much. So those 2 come highest to mind for me as I've been reflecting on this.
Ms. Rafferty, do you have anything? Mrs. Clapham?
I think it's I feel like it's the not elephant in the room, but I think the bond is going to be a huge part of that's still facilities, but many of us, it's been years, especially for us that are going on round 2 or 3 of being on this board. So I think we would be very remiss and not, how we phrase that but I think we are all heavily invested. That's going to be a heavy lift, but doing everything we can to pass the first bond in over 50 years in this district. So that jumps out to me. I do agree, Ms. Stevenson. I always kind of struggle. I think my I guess I took a little bit, a slightly higher view, like say higher, like, you know, with the achievement gap. I think I thought a little bit more globally in just achievement gaps. Like I think, and be this good or bad, it's probably bad. But on several like groups in social media and online, I hear a lot of, well, this school is failing, like they see the report card and this school is failing, but this one isn't, and people seeing, and there are, I mean, and again, obviously we know it's multifaceted, but when we have gaps even between schools, which is also connected with our native performance, like, can we close gaps? I mean, when we have one school up here and one school here in the same district, like how can we, how can we effectively, like, are we gonna close it in a year? Absolutely not. But, and so my wordsmithing is not great at this moment, but thinking that similar, like we know there are statistical places between schools, between certain groups that the gaps are just huge. And I think we know that statistically too, when you bring up the bottom, the top goes up too. And so I think addressing those gaps, and again, like how we phrase that, I'm not completely sure. But I feel pretty strongly about that.
Okay, and technically that can be two separate areas of priority. You can talk about the graduation or educational gap in our indigenous people and the gap within elementary schools, high schools, and middle schools. So if the board prefers, we can make that two separate goals or language that combines them into one. Okay. All right, Mrs. Urban. No.
But we will.
You're being voluntold.
To speak.
I do agree with Christine. I think having, like a few really broad areas is nice to be able to just go back and connect everything that we're doing with those. For me personally, I think the bond is a really big deal, and doing everything that we can to support it will be important. I'm excited to see some of the changes and the growth just that's happening based on the reports that we got a couple weeks ago on the strategic plan and what's happening. And so something student performance achievement. I don't have a whole lot to add other than what Jamie and Christine said.
Okay.
At this time.
I have something to add, Brooks,
Sure.
if that's okay, Donna. I was really excited to hear about junior kindergarten. When we look at achievement, it starts at the foundational level. You give the teachers the support that they need, give them the curriculum that is effective and research-based. We will see our test scores go up, and consistency is what we really need. So I've been saying that all along. So, yeah.
Okay, Mrs. Moore.
I agree with all of these. In addition to that, I have a passion to see behaviors improve. I think it's a huge issue, and I'd like to see it just continue to be addressed. Kib and Custer, Children's Home Society, those are great, and I'm excited about those two things. I think there needs to be more things done to help our teachers and our principals.
Right, and I think, Dr. Thompson, we asked for a behavioral plan and not just a listing of what we're already doing, because I don't know if a cheat sheet, yeah. What do you call that when everybody starts saying the same thing? No, it's in politics. It's when everybody says the same thing.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, gosh, dang it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Talking points, that's not what it is, but it is talking points. So like a talking points paper of how we're addressing that.
Yeah, when we
Oh,
get
same.
people asking us, what are you doing about behavior? It's hard to remember all the things, because there are.
Yes, that we are doing. Okay, well, actually, I think that's a great list. The bond.
Hands up. Just.
Who? Oh, Ms. Stephenson.
I just wanted to thank you, Angela, because you took the words out of my mouth. I remember junior kindergarten after. That is I think a district goal of expanding junior kindergarten by a few more. I mean, the principal at South Park, Brad just pulled me aside and said, hey, you asked about the success of our kindergartners, and I'm gonna just spoil his future presentation. The kindergartners who did not go to junior K at South Park last year, who stayed in kindergarten, were 77% of them were proficient by the end of the year. They are the district record, the kindergartners at South Park, highest in the district. So that was a very exciting statistic that he shared. And I mean, he might tweak it a little bit. He wanted to put it up on the board, but that just tells me like, we just have to keep working on this program. So yes to junior kindergarten, and then yes to continuously trying to help our staff and students make behavior less of an issue in the classroom and less of an impediment to learning.
Okay, and along with that, with junior K, the board has also requested that the district follow this first class of junior K all the way through graduation. And just to be quite frank, especially when we're talking about legislation, everybody is clear that our state does not fund pre-K. And so if we're the first, that'd be great to bring statistics to peer, to show them that it does work and begin our own personal advocacy for getting this done. And those of you that are in politics and legislation know it doesn't happen in 1, 2, 3 years. Sometimes, it can be several years, but at least we're being proactive in coming up with numbers. So that's what excites me about the program, and then following these kids all the way through school. Okay, I agree with all of them. One of the things that I would like to also add or not is our CTE programming. And we were hot and heavy on it a couple of years ago, and now we don't mention it. So I would kind of like, and I know I understand that that's a very difficult and slow process, but I want it to come back in the forefront of our minds that we do. Well, I guess I should say, I would like a building. And if I'm quite honest, I'm jealous of other districts that are further down the road than we are in this process. And I like to try to catch up. So
Can I say something about
sure
that?
can.
So Bobby Joe Donovan and I have had multiple meetings about CTE programming.
Wonderful.
And are looking at how we can at least take baby steps in
Yes.
moving in that direction and increasing that and maybe getting back to where we were
Yeah.
before COVID, because I feel like we had strong career academies in place before COVID, then they kind of dropped off. And now we have pathways, which are good, but they're not quite as strong and they need some work. So we're working on that. And I've also had multiple conversations with the president of Western Dakota Tech and some community members who are interested in helping with that. So we are having those conversations. It just takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And there isn't a building in our strategic facilities plan. So I don't know if we can do that or not, but we'll see what happens.
We'll try. But at least, again, if it's on the forefront of our priorities, the community and whoever else knows that it is we're not just sleeping on that issue. So
Yeah, I haven't spoken about it much. I'm just kind of trying to do some of the background work
sure.
that needs to be done because it does take so much time to get those partnerships in place.
Okay, well, it doesn't, again, yes, ma'am. Ms. Clapham.
Quickly, one, I don't disagree with the CTE. I think sometimes there is yes, it's true, like our foundations and our elementaries are important. I do think sometimes families feel like then by the time we get to high school, we're like, we're not really that worried about them. Like, we're like, we've got to focus on elementary. Not that elementary's not important, but I think CT is a way to show the community and families like, yes, we care about our students through the whole spectrum. And I was just gonna say in wordsmithing, when we get to it, I think junior K and just, as you mentioned, early education, because also science of reading, like big changes are happening. And so I think like we've done a ton of professional development with our staff on science of reading. Next year, we'll be getting a new curriculum. And so I think when we start to wordsmith that goal and talking about focus on early education and those foundational skills that we are putting a lot into that between junior K and science of reading professional development. And so I think going back to it, checking in with our staff, making sure like they, with the new curriculum, with training, like they are feeling good about what's happening. I think that's important for us to focus on.
Okay, so at this time, we have board priorities, we will call them. The bond, increased student enrollment in the district, the educational gap in our Indigenous students, CTE, junior K, addressing behaviors, and did I understand science of reading, or can that go under
With junior K, like focus on early learning.
early learning?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
And
6.
maybe if you send those to the board, we can kind of digest them, and it's possible that we could combine some or separate out because I like junior K so much, but I also feel like if our goal is attendance, junior K is a part of that. If our goal is attendance, CTE is a part of that. And maybe there's ways to kind of lower it down and keep us at the 20,000 foot.
Okay, I will send this out to the board, and then you all will respond on what you feel. And again, there's no number, so if we want 6, we can have 6. I mean, so it's not like we're picking and choosing. We're just gonna re-edit and then bring that back to the community of what our focus is. And that will help Dr. Thompson know what the board is focusing on and what we're.
Can I just caution that we have 5 strategic planning goals that have 3 things under each one, so that's 15. And we have 6 to 10 things here, and we have my superintendent goals and your board objectives. And research says you should have 2 to 3 focus areas if you're going to make improvement. If you have more than that, you start to dilute your impact. So I would just encourage you to keep it as small as you can so that we can actually focus, which is the word you started with.
Okay, I don't think our intention with this priority list is directives for to add to your to-do list. I think it's just and most of it you're doing already. You're already doing the CTE, you're already doing the junior K, you're already doing behaviors, you're already involved in the bond.
I agree with that, and I agree they're all important, but I stand by what I said because it is what research says.
Okay, board members, do you all have any comments about that statement?
I think I understand what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, that like we were given a strategic plan, and I want to put out there that I want to close the achievement gap between Indigenous students and white students in this district. Like at the highest level, that's what I want to see happen in this district. At the highest level, I want us to stop losing kids. I want our enrollment to go down. I don't see those as being directive, but like board, you've told, for your superintendent to say, you have directed this district to try to close the achievement gap. And so I just want to give you an update. This is what we're working on. This is the initiative that is happening right now. Or this is a recommendation we would make. It just like kind of at a higher level driving where we want to see this district to go that we bring. Because I love the strategic plan. I don't want to change the strategic plan, but there are things that aren't in there that like, as a board, I hear us saying we want more. I mean, but I don't think that, I think we should take, that's why I kind of dialed back on the junior kindergarten. I think we should be cautious to say like, to be prescriptive, like this is how I'd like to see it done.
Okay. Any comments? So we're talking about limiting the focus or the priorities, if we're, whatever we're gonna call them, the priorities to 3. Your recommendation is we just have no more than 3?
Not necessarily. I mean, we have lots of goals out there. I would just limit them the best that you can. Okay?
Okay.
You know, and also just to follow up on what the goals that we had last time were the facilities, teacher retention, and communication. And we could take actions on all of those, you know, I mean, with the help of the collaboration of the district leadership, but like the facilities master plan and those listening sessions and the board corners and the listening sessions with teachers. So I don't know. I might have to chew on this a little bit to fully digest everything.
Ms. Rafferty?
This is my suggestion. I would go ahead and send those out to all of us, and maybe we can consolidate, you know, what you have written down, and we can just look at those and consolidate. Maybe it's not as big as it sounds. And maybe, yeah, everybody can put their input in and discuss it. And
Okay. Ms. Clapham?
So I'd say when previously that is basically what we did, like everybody wrote and then we kind of wordsmith them together as a group. I want to say I fully recognize and I could, if I were in Dr. Thompson's position, would probably feel some anxiety with coming into it. I think, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but I think like it's more like tons of things in the strategic plan are working towards an early age, say, so the science of reading and junior K and looking at cadence source. So I don't think it's actually creating a new, I think it's as we relate to the community and they say, well, like, what are you doing? Or what are you focused on? And then, when it's the quarter and they say, well, actually, we have this many more junior Ks, we have this many. So I think it's almost more like how we as a board are communicating, not so much like specific, like it's more, I think it's data points that will already exist. But I think to keep our attention on it, because I think what's happened before with boards is like, oh, we don't really have a focus. We're kind of, oh, somebody mentioned something about the language arts curriculum, and then we ask some question and we get like in the woods over here. And then a month later, somebody asked about, and so we're like all over the place instead of just like, yes, we want to know, we are focused on early education and this, and they said, and then when, the semester report comes and we're like, yes, this is what our junior kindergarten is doing. And that's what, so I think it's more about like how it's being expressed, not like new goals or new, and again, like I said, I'm not trying to put anything in anybody's mouth, but I think that's more the sense we're trying to have, not like creating some new specific goal or specific data point or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it's just a way to communicate and to more narrow of all the other things, what the board finds most important. Not, again, it's not giving you extra work or extra duties, and it's not to circumvent the strategic plan, right? Because we voted on the strategic plan and we're all operating under that plan. But I think it just gives the community and people that ask about the board, here's what we find most important. Okay, maybe that's a better, here are the things that we find most important. And as I listed, most of them we're already doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think priorities, right? When we look at that list, everything I think fits in the strategic plan, and it's all stuff that we're doing. We're just calling it out specifically. So I actually think when you talk about junior K, I think that's good. I think that is specific and it's something we're already doing, and we want to make sure that we follow through on it. Same with facilities. I mean, the bond under facilities, I think that's specific under facilities. So I almost think it is a little bit more specific because we already have the big overarching goals. And I will just say one comment that I have on our strategic plan, and I wasn't here when we voted on it, but when we say students or community or RCA staff, I'm like, as a parent, I'm like, well, what does that really mean? Like, doesn't every district focus on students and community and staff? And so I know that I think facilities is more specific, but the other three areas, I'm kind of like, huh. So I just think for the board to hone in on a little bit of like, we know these things are already happening, we like the direction of them, and just to sort of say, we're gonna watch this more closely or push for this more closely, whatever that might be.
Okay, Ms. Moore, did you have okay, no? All right,
Thank you for that clarification.
yeah, it's just more, again, for us, so that things don't get lost, right? Like CTE got lost because we didn't mention that it was a priority to us. And, you know, when you mention that this is a priority. Okay, so I'm gonna send these out. And let's do this. Let's give me your top 3. Okay, let's do that, because we do need to be, I agree, and thank you, Dr. Thompson, that we can be focused. And so if there are several that we can combine under one, let's do that. And then we can come to a consensus of 3. If we really can't get it under 3, we'll do 4, knowing that something's gonna not be on it, right? And not that we're not doing it, because again, we're doing all of these, but it just didn't make the cut of what we're focusing on, what our priorities are. Does that sound fair to everybody? Okay, all right, very good discussion on objectives. All right, moving on. Others. Anybody have a other? Mrs. Clapham.
As soon as I said that, if I sneeze in the middle of the other, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I like felt the sneeze coming, so we're gonna try to get through it. No, it's just a very brief, something that I feel really strongly about in education in this district, and I think, is a good thing. So in the last 2 weeks, we get the emails, particularly from the high schools, but also my son's in middle school. There's been cross country, dance, cheer, knowledge bowl, football, volleyball, choir, model UN, debate, marching band. I say it's a dual purpose. 1, maybe 3 purposes. 1, community, come out and support our kids in whatever it is. If that's knowledge bowl, if it's a debate, it's whatever it is. If it's cheering on your kid at the marching band or your neighbor's kid or whomever, that support matters. That support matters to those kids. And so in whatever realm it is, I strongly encourage it. 2, for parents, like if your kid's not a sports kid or your kid's not a music kid, that doesn't mean there's not a place for them. That we have so many different things. We have robotics clubs, we have chess clubs, help your child find a place. There are a lot of ways in this district to be involved, and we know that the more involved kids are, the more they stay in school and the more they enjoy school. And the third thing is just appreciating this district works really hard. A lot of people, takes so many people to make all those things happen. Like I knew nothing about Knowledge Bowl until my son was in Knowledge Bowl. There's a whole lot of people and a whole lot of moving parts and a whole lot of all these different classrooms. And that's just one Knowledge Bowl event. You turn a volleyball tournament, an orchestra concert with 100 students. So it's just really impressive. We think about what our staff does in the classroom every day. But then what do they do on Saturdays and Tuesday nights and Thursday nights? And that I'm so appreciative that we have so many people in this district willing to support and nurture our students in so many ways and outside the hours of 8 and 3.
All right, Mrs. Stephenson.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've had an other, so prolong our meeting a little bit. I did want to bring up a highlight from the legislative luncheon to make you all aware. We did have some discussion about just educating legislators on early childhood education and the fact that we don't have preschool standards in this state. And depending on who you talk to, they say, oh, that's a non-starter. But, I was sitting next to Representative Massey and he doesn't seem to think that's a non-starter. Getting preschool paid for in the state might be a non-starter, but the first step is to get preschool standards. And if we can get those, then we as a district can apply for grants to provide preschool. Different organizations, the YMCA can apply for grants. Right now, we can't, there's a lot of grants, federal grants we can't apply for because we don't have standards. So that was something that I just wanted to make you all aware of, that it seemed, it seems like I talked to quite a few legislators who are not totally opposed to that. I wanted to thank the Indian Ed staff as well for showing up at the PAC meeting last week and telling their stories about what they do for the district and the difference they make. It was really moving. And I also wanted to thank the PAC staff and everybody else in the district who showed up at the Native American Day Parade. That was really special. I go to that almost every year. And I've never seen RCAS, I don't remember seeing RCAS having a big presence. I shouldn't say I've never seen it. It was such a great presence. Bobby was there. I mean, there were just a lot of different RCAS related floats, and it just made me feel really warm and proud of our district. And one thing that came up at the PAC that I want you all to ruminate on is, there are not a lot of districts in the state, but there are a few that have made teaching the OSEU a mandatory part of our curriculum. So the Osheti and Essential Understandings. Right now, they're not. So some kids are getting a good in-depth education on the OSEU and some aren't getting it at all. And I think for the health of our community, for our goal of closing the achievement gap, understanding the history and culture of Native people in this state and in the region is really vital. And it was brought up that we could, as a board, make that mandatory. It would involve expense. We shouldn't do it lightly. I'm not proposing that we do that right now, but it is something that some people are talking about, and I wanted you all to be aware of that too.
Ms. Urban.
I thought it was required. It's not. That's shocking to me. I will just say, our district has a ways to go, but we are doing a really good job, our PAC team, and the way that the code of culture is integrated into our schools is just phenomenal, and such a difference from when I went to school here. And I went to the Native American Day assembly at South Park a couple of weeks ago, and I had no idea that they have a Lakota culture teacher. It's like a special, and that blew me away. And his message was talking about all of these different Native American leaders, or people that have accomplished big things throughout history, and how he wasn't able to be proud of those things when he was a kid because he didn't know about them. And that's why he was teaching all of these kids about some of these great role models. And it was just like, man, when I was a kid at Robbinsdale, it just didn't exist. It's just so different. And even, working in another district, our district really does do a good job. And I mean, again, we can do more and better, but we're doing good work.
Any other? All right, seeing none.
I couldn't raise my hand.
Oh,
Sorry.
That's right, Ms. Roberts, just go ahead.
We did work really hard with the new social studies standards to embed the OSEU standards in there. And so I just wanted you to be aware that we worked with the OSEU teaching staff and the OSEU mentors that are in most of our buildings. And I know Marie Heiber did a lot of work on that, and she was on our social studies committee. And we did work to embed those OSEU standards in our social studies.
All right, well, thank you for that update. That's important for us to understand that. All right, any questions or comments or others? All right, seeing no hands and hearing no voices, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session SDCL 1 25 2.1 and 2.3.
So moved.
Second.
Clapham. Christensen. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying no. Motion carries. Let's take a 2-3 minute break and,